Hi there, my name is Dr. Sarah Wooten and I am a small animal veterinarian, and this is all about dogs. And in this video, I am going to be debunking the top 10 dog myths that are out there. So watch on to see if you actually believe any of these myths, and let's separate some fact from some fiction. All right, the number one myth about dogs I would like to debunk is that they are pack animals and have a clear hierarchy in their world. So this is a long-standing myth, right? We've thought that dogs live in packs and they have one leader, that's the alpha, right? And that's based upon, things that we see with like the African dogs that hunt together in packs, and how wolves interact with each other. But this is actually a myth when it comes to the domestic dog. And in fact, when we watch the behavior of free-ranging dogs, like feral dogs or dogs that just don't have any ownership or they're wild, as far as like in other countries, they don't form packs. They don't. They actually form a very loose social groups that like come together and then fall apart. They're very transitory in nature with other dogs. They form these packs if it suits their purpose. The other thing in this myth is that there is one alpha dog, right? Well, that actually is not true either. And in watching behavior of dogs, they actually pass around their leadership to each other at different times, and it's very fluid. So that is the first myth about dogs that we want to debunk today. The second myth about dogs is when they growl, you want to punish them. No, you don't want to do that ever. Dogs growl, even though it's scary to us humans, they're growling to communicate. It's because something is scaring them or it's upsetting them. And if you punish dogs for growling about something that they don't like, well, then they're still going to be upset. They're still going to be mad. They're still going to be scared. But now they're too afraid to tell us, right? And so now that's going to cause these scary things to come even closer. And this is difficult because it's more likely that a dog that's been punished for growling is likely to bite. Yeah, because the growl was to let you warn you that they were going to bite. And now we've taken that away so they don't have any way to communicate with us. So it's really important. Also, if you punish a dog when they're growling, when they're just trying to communicate with you, and they're already scared and they're already angry or something's upsetting them, this can create further conflict in your relationship with your dog, right? It's way better if a dog is growling to pay attention to what they're growling to. And to move the dog away from whatever that thing is, if possible, so that the dog feels more comfortable. So that's the second myth. The number 3 myth I want to bust about dogs is that a wagging tail means a happy dog. Not necessarily. It's not always a sign of friendliness. So be very careful when you're interpreting the wagging dog, especially of a dog that you don't know, because that can actually result in a bite if you aren't reading the rest of the language that the dog is giving to you. Dogs can wag when they're happy, obviously, or when they're excited, or when they're, very alert about something, but they can also wag when they are afraid. They can wag when they're scared. They can wag when they're submissive. They can wag before they bite. So canine body language can be complex, and there's a lot of moving parts. So you have to interpret everything together. You want to evaluate the wagging tail in conjunction with the other signs that the dog is giving you. Also, it's important, if you don't know the dog, to ask the owner for permission before you pet the dog or approach the dog. This is really, really important for kids, for little kids, because those kids, they just want to run up and hug every single dog, but not every dog loves that. Also, if the tail is about neutral and wagging and kind of slow, that's kind of a fairly friendly wag. If the tail is down low and wagging, that's a submissive or a scared wag. And if it's straight up and wagging, especially really fast, that's a very alert, possibly aggressive wag. So wags are different in different situations, and you gotta learn to evaluate them in conjunction with the whole dog. Okay, the number 4 myth is that you can't teach old dogs new tricks. False. Fake news. It's not true. Old dogs can learn new tricks. Sometimes they just don't want to, right? As dogs get older, just like we do, sometimes their interests change and maybe they get a little bit more stubborn or just more interested in doing their own thing, right? Also, some older dogs can have pain associated with arthritis, which can make them not want to learn anything new. They just want to lay around and sleep. Some of them have weight problems. Some of them have decreased vision or hearing. Some of them have cognitive issues as far as their brain. Some of them actually have dementia, which can make it challenging to train a dog, right? So if you're noticing that your older dog isn't interested in treats anymore or in training, or you're noticing that they're sleepier, well, you know, it's important to get them checked out by a vet to make sure that there's not anything going on. And within the limitations, within their physical limitations, there are many tricks and training that you can do with a dog, with an older dog. So definitely want to debunk that myth immediately. Myth number 5 that we would like to debunk today is that dogs are colorblind. Nope. That is not true. I don't even know where that myth came from, since, you know, none of us are actually looking through the eyes of a dog. But structurally speaking, the eye of a dog, at the back of the dog where they see, at the back of the eye where they see color, the retina, contains several receptor types that are used for seeing color in humans, right? And they've actually done some studies in the Smithsonian Magazine website. You can actually look up a study that they've done showing that dogs can actually see several colors, including blue, gray, and yellow. Now, they don't have as wide of a color spectrum as we do, but they certainly are not colorblind. So that is myth number 5, and it's fake news. Okay, myth number 6 we're going to talk about. 1 dog year equals 7 human years. No, not at all. Not at all. So dogs do age more rapidly than humans. They don't live as long, and they just kind of go through their lives more quickly. They actually mature faster as well, right? I mean, if you think about a puppy, it's an adult within 1 year, where a human takes like 25 years now or longer, right? With that prefrontal cortex. So a better way to think about it is like the first year equals about 14 to 18 human years, right? So during that first year, depending on what size they are, the smaller dogs mature faster than the bigger dogs. It's going to take them through sexual maturity, through adolescence, and they're going to be about 14 to 18 human years after that. And then after that, it slows way down, right? It's something to, 3 years to every human year. It's way slower. Also, the size of the dog influences this. So a small dog will live longer than a bigger dog in general. They'll live anywhere from 15 to 20 years. I've seen that. And bigger dogs, they don't live as long, right? Especially like your giant breeds, they'll only live like 6 to 9 years. So it's not 1 year equals every 7 years. It's a lot of human years in the first years, and then it's much less beyond that. The 7th myth about dogs is that destructive behavior when you're not home means that your dog is mad at you. No, that is not how dog brains work. They are very in the present moment, right? They cannot think that they were mad that you did not feed them the treats that they wanted, and so therefore they're going to go destroy your favorite throw pillow, right? No, it means that they are bored, or they are afraid, or they are anxious, right? So your dog is experiencing some sort of negative emotion, either boredom or fear or anxiety from being separated from you, and they don't know what to do, so they tear something up in order to cope or in order to escape, right? Fear of being away from their owner is known as separation anxiety. And it can also be anxiety over, things that they see outside. It could be anxiety about the mailman, or it could be pent-up energy and boredom. All of those together lead to destruction of your stuff. And so they can also get into trash cans, they can tear up your clothing, they can chew the furniture, they can chew your shoes, they can chew the baseboards, you name it, they can chew it, right? So instead of thinking that your dog is angry at you or getting angry at your dog, find different ways in order to help your dog get some additional energy out, or different ways for your dog to stay busy while you're gone, such as long-lasting chew toys or food puzzles, or somebody who comes by and walks your dog, or maybe something that they can watch. If your dog is doing destructive things because they are anxious, then you need to work with a professional, such as a veterinarian like me, to help you desensitize and counter condition your dog so that they are not anxious when you go and they know that you're going to come back and they don't need to chew up your stuff. Okay, so that is myth number 7. Myth number 8, a dry nose means that your dog is sick. No. Whether a dog's nose is dry or it's wet has nothing to do with their overall health and wellness, and it most definitely doesn't mean that your dog is sick or has a fever or anything like that. Usually the wetness of a dog's nose has to do with what's going on around them. Have they been sleeping? Dogs that have been sleeping for a while will often wake up with a dry nose because they haven't been licking it. Are they actively sniffing things? If they are actively sniffing things, there often can be a wet nose because the fluid will go towards the nose because it's working, right? It's doing things. So also, if your dog is eating, right, and they're licking their nose a lot, it'll be wet. Oftentimes, if they're outside and they're just running around and they're not doing anything with their nose, it can be dry. So when is it actually a problem? Well, if your dog is exhibiting other behaviors in addition to a dry nose or a warm nose that indicate that your dog is sick, such as not wanting to eat, low energy, vomiting, diarrhea, coughing, sleeping a lot, all those things are signs that your dog is sick, right? And that your dog might have a fever. You can often, I've gotten to where I can feel a dog's ears and I can tell whether that dog has a fever or not. But that's after 16 years of feeling dog ears in practice. And what I found is when I feel their ears and their ears are very warm, 9 times out of 10, their temperature is actually elevated as well. So if you are worried, take your dog's temperature. If they're exhibiting any other signs of sickness, take them to the veterinarian. Also, there are a couple of diseases of the nose itself that can warrant some concern and a trip to the vet. If you're noticing that the nose is dry and cracked or crusting, or there's stuff coming off of it, or if there's anything coming out of the nose other than water, I'm talking snot, yellow snot, green snot, bloody snot, right? Those are signs that your dog's actually sick. Okay, the number 9 myth, dogs that don't go outside don't need heartworm prevention. I would say no. This is a no. Most dogs that are in areas where there's heartworm disease need heartworm prevention. Otherwise, you risk them getting infected. So heartworm prevention works like this. If your dog has been bitten by a mosquito that's infected with heartworms, heartworm prevention actually kills those heartworms and keeps them from making your dog sick. So heartworms are almost always contracted via mosquito bites when an infected mosquito bites a dog. And the prevention doesn't just keep them safe all the time, it actually kills the heartworms if they're ever exposed. And since mosquitoes can easily get inside your house, I mean, I've been in an interior bedroom and been bit by a mosquito. They can come in through screens that are torn, they come in through the door, they can ride in on your clothes. These are the secret like mosquitoes that can infect your dog. So it is entirely possible, even if your dog never goes outside, to still get heartworm disease. In addition, heartworm prevention also protects dogs against other worms, hookworms, roundworms, whipworms, things like that. So make sure that you are still using your heartworm prevention, even if your dog never goes outside. Myth number 10. Dogs and wolves are the same, so they should be fed the same way. This is a myth, my friends. So wolves are over here. Yes, they are in the same genus and species, right? Canis, right? But wolves are over here and dogs are over here. And they have been evolving separately for a long, long time. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years. In fact, we don't even know. There are some settlements, some archaeological finds that show dog remains along human remains from like 30,000 years ago. So dogs have been evolving alongside humans for a long time. Now, even though dogs and wolves share a great amount of similar genetic material, there are a few key differences. Some differences in the size of the skull, some differences in the skeleton and the way their toes are formed, differences in the way their guts are designed. So dogs have shorter guts that are similar to an omnivore like us. Wolves have longer guts that are similar to carnivores like cats, right? So dogs are omnivores. They have been evolving to eat cereal grains that have been thrown from the fires of our distant past ancestors for millennia, right? And so they are not the same. And in fact, if you feed a wolf dog kibble, or if you feed a dog wolf food, and in fact they have high protein wolf kibble, right? You'll make both sick, right? They have different nutritional needs. They are not the same animal. Even though they look similar, there are distinct differences. So you need to feed a dog like a dog. You need to feed a wolf like a wolf. So that is all I have. The top 10 myths of dogs. Hopefully you learned something today about your furry family member, and hopefully these tips and myths that we've debunked will help you to take better care of your pet. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dr. Sarah Wooten. This is all about dogs. If you have a topic you'd like me to cover, just leave a comment in the comment section below. Hit subscribe. I will be back with more information, health information for our favorite fur friends. Thank you so much for watching. Check back soon.